Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today for this QuestCast titled Regular Decision Insights from Quest Scholars. We're really excited to have you all joining us today, and we have four wonderful panelists who are going to be talking about their experience applying to regular decision and ending up as Quest Scholars at our partner colleges. My name is Erin Turner, and I'm going to be moderating the QuestCast today. Just a few logistical details. If you want to submit questions, you can definitely do so. Just go ahead and type them in on the right-hand side of the screen. And actually, more importantly, if you see a question that's already been asked that you want to know the answer to, go ahead and press the +1 button next to it. That's going to go ahead and raise it up to the top, and we'll be sure to get to that as quickly as possible. We're going to be talking a lot, not about the logistics of regular decision, but more about the experiences of our panelists applying through that process and what that was like for them, and the advice that they have for you going through that process now. So with that, panelists, do you guys want to introduce yourselves, starting with Dakota?
Sure. Okay. So my name is Dakota Snellgrove. I am from Atlanta, Texas. I'm a freshman, and I go to Vassar College.
Awesome. Oh, Jamie, you're muted right now. Kelly, can we jump to you real fast?
My name's Kelly. I'm a first year at Amherst College. I'm originally from New York City, and I'm studying pre-med in English right now.
Okay, my name is Madeline. I am a freshman at Emory University. I recently moved to Florida, but I'm originally from New Jersey, right outside of Philadelphia.
Okay. And let me see. I'm sorry, so sorry, Jamie. I'm not sure. I think you might have muted yourself. If you need to leave the QuestCast and rejoin, that's perfectly fine. Okay, so our first question for you guys, thinking back to December 1st or whatever that date was, a year or two ago, can you tell us what your reaction was to not being matched, and then how you feel about it now?
Okay, so I guess I'll start. I went over to my friend's house to check the thing because I felt moral support would always obviously be the best thing. And opening it, it was like really like going into the match, you kind of know that like the odds aren't in your favor, but you kind of still have that like small bit of hope that you're gonna get matched and like, oh, maybe I'll be the one. And at first I was just like, oh, I didn't get matched. I'll just do RD. And then like I think like an hour or two later, that's when like it finally hit and I started crying that day. And it was really like bad for me that day, but I mean, I'm here now, so.
Yeah. Okay. So for me, that day I was driving home from school. Well, my dad was driving, and we were heading home, and I got the email, and I looked at it, and I was like, oh, wow, okay. Guess I have to wait even more to figure out what I'm doing with the rest of my life. And it was tough because like a lot of my peers at school had like got their like acceptance letters already because they did like early decision to like a lot of the like closer but still like big campuses, and they're all like, yeah, I'm gonna go to A&M, or yeah, I'm gonna go to Arkansas University, and they got like all the stuff from it. And me, I'm just sitting here waiting like I'll figure something out. And then I was like, okay, I guess I just have to do a regular decision. And I went through all the college lists, and like I like looked through each of like Questbridge's partner schools to figure out like, okay, what would work well for me. And then ultimately I ended up here, so everything worked out. And I was like bothered by it, but I felt like, okay, I can't get too upset about it because then like I'll lose my focus and I won't be able to put everything into it. And being upset's totally valid. Like if you feel like you need to be upset and cry, do that. Like that's good. Do that. But for me, it helped me to kind of just like stay occupied with the regular decision search. It kind of helped me get through all of it.
Yeah, for me, I remember I was trying just to waste the hours in the day just to make it happen already because I was just
Yeah.
so nervous. But I remember I was just in the family room with my mom and dad, and my mom and dad were just behind my shoulders. And I kept telling myself, like, it's not going to happen just so if it didn't happen, it wouldn't hurt me as hard. But then, of course, in the back of your mind, you're like, oh, God, I really hope this happens. And when I saw that it didn't happen, I was extremely sad to say the least, but you pick yourself back up and you know that the fact that you got into Questbridge to begin with is a sign that things are going to be okay. You're going to get into a great college. So for me, I had to look at the bright side, even though I knew, oh, great, now I have to continue applying to schools. It was just kind of back on that application grind, so to speak. So, but it ended up working out. So that's what you just have to keep reminding yourself that there's definitely a bright end at the end of a really long tunnel that is called the admission process. So it worked
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, and Madeline, you just started touching on this now, but I'm really curious what advice you would give to students who just found out that they weren't matched, or what you would have wanted to know in that moment, when you're so disappointed and you're thinking about moving forward. What do you think they should know?
I definitely think they should know that, like I touched upon, that it really isn't the end. Just because you don't get matched to a school doesn't mean that there isn't a chance of getting into that school regular decision. I ranked Emory University as one of the schools to get matched to, and I didn't get matched, but I got in regular decision. So I think that it's extremely important to remind yourself that not getting matched to a school doesn't mean that you won't get in regular decision. Like the majority of kids who are applying to that school get in through. So I think it's really important to remind yourself that it isn't a sign of a school thinking less of you or anything like that. It really is. It's just just another step in the process, and you just have to keep the faith and just know that it is going to work out and that you can still get into one of those schools you ranked even if you don't get matched.
Okay. And Jamie, I see that you're back with us. Can you introduce yourself really quick?
Hi, I'm sorry. I'm Jamie. I'm from Houston, Texas, and I attend Emory University.
Awesome. And then we were just talking a little bit about what it was like to find out you weren't matched, and then also what you would have wanted yourself to know in that moment, now that you've been through the regular decision process.
Okay, I tried. Okay, so I was in marching band, and I was driving, because I was getting food, because I love food. I was driving back to marching band practice, and like the whole day I had been refreshing my phone trying to see like what the decision was, but I kept reminding myself, oh, it's gonna be okay, if you don't get matched, it's fine, because I would read all the things, but I never like got an opportunity like to see a hangout like this, so I didn't really get that actual reassurance. And when I finally saw that I didn't get matched, I kind of didn't react for like 2 hours. And then I reacted and I was like, well, I have regular decision now. Like that was my thought process. So it really wasn't that bad. And now that I look back on it, like I wish I wouldn't have obsessed over it the whole day because I don't know, I feel like that made me want to feel bad, but I didn't. I didn't really like. I don't know. It's still a weird day for me.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Dakota and Kelly, do you guys want to chime in?
Yeah, I think I agree with like what the girls have said so far. Like when you're in that moment, it is easy to feel like, such a big door has been closed, but it hasn't actually. Like, I hate being the to use cliche phrases, but when one door closes, two more open. I think like for some kids, like for me especially, when I ranked schools, some of the schools I chose weren't necessarily ones that I feel now I would have been passionate at. So like in a way, I'm really glad that I didn't get matched because for me, I didn't have Amherst on my rank list, and I'm here now and I love it. So I think that if you didn't get matched, it's not the worst thing because you never know what's gonna happen later on, and in the end, you're gonna end up where you're meant to be, and I don't know, you just gotta get through the year.
Yeah.
Um, just to add on to that, like real quick, I feel the same way because I did not have Emory on my rank list, and that was before like I really started thinking about because I heard it before, but I really didn't think about it. Like every college isn't for every person. Like there's completely different environments in different places, so you shouldn't feel, you know, you shouldn't feel bad even if you don't get matched. So.
Right.
Yeah, that actually leads right into my next question, which is about like continuing to research the schools. So students do have until like December 9th, which is coming up pretty quickly, to kind of submit the regular decision form to let us know which colleges they're intending to apply to through regular decision.
Yeah, it's Wednesday.
And yeah, and for some of them, they might be thinking about colleges that they didn't rank before. Do you guys have any advice for, thinking about that or thinking about what schools are a good fit for you?
Yeah. Um, so on my rank list when I submitted for the match, I only my top three were like schools that I had researched and like were into. The rest of them I just put on there because they seemed nice and I needed to fill up the spots. So after I didn't get in through match, I researched every college, and I was like, okay, so because for me, I needed a place with a decent film program, and that's what I do. And as it turns out, Vassar had a pretty solid one, and Vassar was ranked 8 on my list. But then when I turned to my regular decision, it was just like, yeah, this place would be cool to go to, and here I am, which is cool.
Yeah.
I think definitely look into if well, no, never mind, it's next week. If you haven't visited some of the schools that you're looking into, I know online there's a lot of virtual tours. You can do that definitely because especially for schools that are very campus based, you're going to be spending all your time on that campus, and you're going to want to make sure that you actually like the campus or that this is where you want to be for the next 3 years. So like
Yes, sir.
if you're if you're a city person, please, and you like the city, don't choose a really small town school. I mean, if you don't know what you like either, think about it because that's really important. Like, I'm a city person, and I never thought that I would like small town schools until I actually visited Amherst, and by then I was hooked. So if you can and you have the opportunity, definitely do the virtual tours or ask the students on campus if they know anything about it.
Yeah.
Great. I feel like I'm so sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I feel like what she said was true, but I didn't get to visit like any college at all because I didn't have the resources. So it's true, like the environment is something you should definitely see for yourself, but if you don't have the resources, do not like think that you shouldn't like, oh, I don't know if I'm gonna like this school. Like don't, because I came from one of the biggest cities in the country, and Oxford's pretty small, but it's amazing. Like you just never know where you're gonna end up. So
Yeah, and actually, that's a really good point, especially because through regular decision, when it's not binding, a lot of the schools will have, fly-out programs for admitted students.
Right.
Do you guys do any of those?
I would have, but I had academic competition the same weekend, and so I went to academic competition. In hindsight, I should have gone to Faster's Focus weekend
But you
because
still
that
want
was
to Vassar.
that was not a good competition. That was not worth it. I should have just done the Focus weekend.
Yeah.
I did Amherst students, the admitted students weekend, and I on the Facebook page I had actually been talking to a couple of the other kids that were interested in Amherst, and we ended up meeting up here. And one of the girls from Questbridge, she also did Questbridge. She lives on my same floor right now, and we're really close. Like we've been really close since April because I visited. So I mean I think this is also like in addition to visiting the programs. If the Questbridge support networks on campus are just amazing, and you never know who you're gonna meet. You might meet like your best friend.
Yeah, my best friend is a Questbridge kid, and when we met, I had no idea he was a Questbridge kid. No clue.
Awesome.
Great.
Yeah.
Um,
What
yeah,
was,
Madeline?
I literally just forgot. What were we talking about? I just like.
The fly-in program.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no. I was thinking of the question that was before it, but yeah, I didn't have any fly-in options. But oh, I think it was talking about looking into which colleges like
Yeah.
um, yeah, so I didn't get a chance just financially to visit any schools before I was applying. So I really didn't know what I was looking for in a college. I couldn't necessarily say, oh my God, I'm going to cross this school off my list because it's a big school, or I'm going to cross this one off because of this little detail. I didn't feel like a little aspect of it was big enough to say I'm not going to apply. But now that I am actually at Emory University, I realized that how much of an impact those little things really do affect your daily life, thus affecting your academics. Like I find that the size of the student body really does affect your experience. Like for me
Hmm.
personally, if I was at a small, like I enjoy being at a medium-sized school where I continue to meet new people, but at the same time I get to say hi to my friend, like say hi to people who I know every day. So there's little things like that that you wouldn't really think like impact your experience that much, but they really do. So I think definitely take into account little details, whether it's the size of the size of the school or the location or the weather, things like that. I think definitely are helpful when researching schools.
And we actually have a student submitted question here that we're going to take. Um, and that is there a certain number of schools that we should apply to increase our chances of getting in, or should we only stick to the ones we are really interested in? So I'm wondering if you guys can tell me a little bit about your experience, like how many schools you applied to. Were they all partner schools? Hopefully not. Were they, a range of schools? What kind of safeties did you apply to? And do you have any advice for students about trying to figure out that perfect number?
Yeah, so I applied to like 14, I think. Um, and they were like all over the country. I applied to like Seattle University. I applied to Emerson. I applied to University of San Francisco. But I also applied to like 9 partner schools, I think. Um, and then also some in-state schools too. Which my safety schools were my in-state schools because due to being in the top 10%, like all public universities in Texas, like you get automatic acceptance, which is a solid backdrop in case things didn't work out. But things worked out, so it's good. Um, yeah. So as far as advice goes on finding the good number, honestly and truly, like apply to schools you know you'll get into. Like I say, know you'll get into. Apply to schools that like you've pretty decent shot at getting into. But also definitely like if there's a school that has nothing you're interested in, I wouldn't apply to it. Like if you're like super into wanting to do something in the liberal arts, I would not apply to MIT just because there's not going to be anything there for you. That's just how it like. And so people will tell you like, oh, make sure you apply to all these colleges, but like definitely don't apply to a school that has nothing that you want to take. And anything you'd want to study, I'm sure you'll find. Like they have stuff everywhere. It pretty much anywhere you'd want to be in any state, there's a school for you. It just takes a little bit of research and so I don't think there really is any like certain number that works. You just end up applying to what you end up applying to, and you hope things work out. And and a lot of times they do. At least in my experience, and people I know experience the Questbridge kids here, like they all kind of had the same experience as me. Is they were like, I'm gonna apply to all these schools that have stuff I'm interested in, and hope that one accepts me. And the situations have been pretty good. And so like always keep your head up too. Like don't like lose hope because if you do, then it's like affects everything else you do.
Hmm.
I actually I applied to 27 schools, which I would heavily not recommend to anybody in the entire world. Um, I mean, if you want to do that, that's cool too. I support you, whatever you do. But I applied to, mm, I think it was maybe 11 in-state schools because for New York you have like city colleges and state colleges.
Hmm.
So I did a bunch of city and state colleges just in case. And then I also did a lot of safeties from private colleges just because I kind of didn't want to stay in New York for school. Because I'd been there my almost my whole life. I didn't want the same environment. Um, and I applied to, I think, 8, 9 Questbridge schools. Um, and in the end, like looking at the schools you applied to, it was just like I was like there was. I mean, even if I didn't have another choice, I don't think I would have gone to some of the schools that I chose because I just applied to apply, and in the end, that was actually a financial burden on my part because CSS only gave me 8 waivers, which I think is the maximum or was the maximum.
Yeah.
So all the other schools that required CSS, I had to pay for, which ended up being stupid. Or like SAT scores or ACT scores after you run out of waivers or the schools don't accept them. You ha- you have to, especially when you're a Questbridge low income student, you have to think about the long run of this as well. So I would not recommend applying to 27 schools if like Dakota said, if it's not what you want to do, if it's not like 110% what you want to do and has what you're interested in, don't do it just to do it and just because you probably won't get anywhere else because if you're a finalist, I promise you, you're probably going to get in somewhere else.
Like even non-partner schools look at Questbridge being a Questbridge finalist is like, okay, this is cool. Like to this day, I'm pretty sure that's why I got accepted into Seattle University is because of that. Because they like, I talked to one of the, I had an alumni interview on over Skype, and like once I mentioned Questbridge, he was just like, whoa, oh, cool, yeah. So like even the non-Questbridge schools like
Yeah, and
Questbridge,
even
yeah.
like internships or volunteering or stuff like that too. If you have that if you talk about your experience as being a finalist or that, a lot of them understand that as well. So that's really cool and something to be proud of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
applied to 21 schools. I definitely kind of like mentioned pulled kind of the like throw a dart and hope it like lands like on the bullseye sort of thing. Like just hoping that, maybe if I apply to 21 schools, I'll get it. Like thinking that my chances would go higher. I really didn't, since my SAT scores weren't in the range of schools that I was applying to. I thought the more schools I applied to in that range, the higher the chance I would have of getting accepted. And looking back, for me, I had the time to do so. Different, like, at least at my school, like, the clubs I was in were outside of school, so I was able to balance everything. So for me, it worked out applying to that amount of that number of schools. But I think for other people, I think it's looking back really important that you maybe instead of like applying to that many schools, like you apply to a smaller number and really work on each application being very individual. I found myself like recycling essays, which they recommend not doing, and I think that could have possibly backfired when I look back on getting the rejections from those schools. So I think that you think that it could help you, but at the same time, it might be kind of counterintuitive in that like you're really not even going to get in because you're not getting the chance to kind of like put in all your effort into that application. So I think definitely like pick those schools that you really are interested in from what you read about them or learn about them or possibly visited, and then you can really give it your all and show the admissions panel why you really want to go to their school. So I think that's something important to remember.
Going off of what Madeline and Kelly said, I agree so much because I applied to over 35 schools. So basically, all of Questbridge's partner colleges because the application was free, and then some of my safety schools from Texas, which I mean, like he said, if you're in the top 10%, you're gonna get it's automatic acceptance. But it's very it's so expensive. You have to take into account like how much it'll be to like send your SAT scores and all these other things. So don't just do it because you're like, well, I'll get in somewhere because that was my mindset. And I know some people are going to be like, that's a challenge because I was that kid. I was like, oh, I have good work ethic. I can do this. don't just, it's not a challenge, I promise. It's better if you just select a certain amount and actually try really hard, because I tried really hard for most of my applications, but there's only so much you can do in a certain amount of time. So just really try for the schools that you want. I mean, you made it this far, so.
Yeah, and I think what I'm hearing from all you guys is when you apply to a school that you're really passionate about it, like that's going to show in your application. So applying to just a bunch of schools because you want to apply to a bunch, or you think maybe you'll get into this super prestigious school, but if you don't really want to attend, like it's not really worth it. It's not really worth your time to do that. Yeah. I'm amazed at how many colleges you guys all apply to. Do you have any advice for organizing your time, and did you guys use spreadsheets to keep track of all the deadlines? How did you do that?
Physical lists, like writing, like
Yeah.
get a piece of paper and write it down, put it on a fridge somewhere you're always going to see it, and when you do something, you check it off. Because not only does it like visualize it, it's psychology. You'll feel really satisfied and you'll keep doing it. It's important to keep that work ethic like that. That's a really good thing. That helped me a lot, even though I can't read my handwriting, but that's not the point.
I agree with that 125%. I think especially like I know that like when you have things on your phone, it's really accessible. You can see it anywhere. But what's the chance that you're gonna apply to a college application when you're at Starbucks with your friends? Like you need if you have it at home and like you physically okay, that's if you like physically check it off, it is like a mental relief. And then like that you did that, and that actually motivates you to continue down the list and do the other things as well. So I definitely agree with that.
I mean, I had the same list on a piece of paper in the kitchen, on a piece of paper in my room, on my phone, and on my computer. So I made sure to have a list, the same list everywhere, like at all times, so I could always see it. So I would have each school that I applied to, and like with a bullets under each school, what I had left to do for it, whether it was like do this for financial aid or do this for like the regular application. I would like remove it as I would like get it done. So I think if having it on your phone helps you in addition to a piece of paper, you really can never have too many lists, whether it's physical or just on your phone. So when you're out and about, you can see, oh, I can do this today. Or, maybe you are at Starbucks with and your friends leave, then you have a chance to get something done. Time is of the essence when you're a senior applying to school. So any chance you get to get something done, especially if you do choose to apply to a lot of schools, then that can definitely be helpful, making sure to use all your time wisely.
Definitely. So we have another question that I think is really interesting. After not being matched, I think a lot of students are nervous that maybe their QuestBridge application wasn't good enough to be admitted to those colleges, or that maybe their essay was just so terrible and they need to change it. Do you have any advice for students who are really nervous about that right now?
No.
I use the exact same application. It's just different pools. So
can you expand on that a little bit? I know you're not an admissions officer, but
right. I think a lot of that, like we were saying, is the statistics about it. There was just so many awesome kids to pick from. You gotta think about it. Finalists got chosen for a reason, and it's because we all brought something to the table that was different than even the bigger pool. So a lot of schools don't pick students just because they have better essays or they have better SAT scores. I think a lot of it was just I don't know. There was just so many awesome applications. You're not worse than anybody else. You can still get into RD, I promise.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Quick note. I know it feels terrible when people say, "Oh, they were just so awesome." That doesn't mean you're not awesome. You're still awesome. You're still awesome. Okay, don't feel bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. As far as worrying, don't worry about that. Because your QuestBridge application was good enough for you to be a finalist, and that means that I'm pretty sure any admissions officer would be cool with that. The thing about it is like they look at your Common App as well as your QuestBridge app. They look at both of those, and so because you had to do the Common App for these colleges, right? And so
Yeah, not all of them, but quite a
not
few.
all of them, not all of them, but like a good I mean all the ones I applied to, like that's what I had to do. Um, so definitely like I just say your QB app is fine. Like use it. It has a lot of useful information on it, and it kind of holds. I don't know. I think it holds a pretty good weight with people. It's a good thing to use. Don't worry about it like oh I can't change it, or if I did this different, if I did this different. I mean you did what you did on the application, and it was good enough to make you a finalist, which is pretty swell. So don't stress over that. There are plenty of other things to stress on.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you have to remind yourself that as long as and hopefully knowing that you gave it your all in your QuestBridge application, you really want to stand by the work that you put out and stand by your whether it's your story or your brand and what you've been through and know and don't make yourself feel like, oh, like you're not good enough for that school. No, you are good enough for these schools. Just every round they're looking for something differently. And maybe this round, what you had to offer they don't need at this moment, but next round maybe you will. You really have to look at it as difficult as it is in a different perspective, and that getting into just being named a finalist is so difficult as it is. So you have to take that into account and know that if you can be named a QuestBridge finalist, then you're going to be admitted to a great school also. So you have to remind yourself that you are great and that you will go to a great school as well.
Also, you might be hearing things from other people discouraging you to apply to certain schools, and like maybe if you don't listen to them, because my counselors were telling me like, why are you applying to these schools? And I was like, well, don't let anything limit you. So, I mean, do it with moderation. Don't go crazy and apply to over 35 schools. But but everything that they've been saying, I completely agree with. So.
My counselors didn't even know what Vassar was.
Same.
They were like, "What's a Vassar?" It's a co-ed liberal arts college in Poughkeepsie. What's a Poughkeepsie? Like I don't. Okay. Thanks, counselors. You're a big help.
And I would add, from the QuestBridge perspective, everyone here, at QuestBridge, we read your applications, and it's really hard to select finalists. And we select finalists because we have really stringent, qualities that we're looking for, and all the finalists we believe are competitive applicants based on the application they submitted to us. So that, the QuestBridge application, we really do believe it's great. And, I've seen emails in the past week from students who have just found a typo in their essay that they submitted for the QuestBridge application. And I know you have that, moment where your stomach drops and you're like, oh, no, this is it. This is the reason why I wasn't matched. And I can guarantee you that's not the reason why. Everyone knows, typos exist. It's okay. Admissions officers are not deducting 5 points for every typo that you make. That's not how it works. Don't worry about those small details.
That happened to me, and I was freaking out, but it'll be fine. You're fine.
And everything turned out all right for you. So, living proof.
No worries. Don't worry about it.
Great. Okay, so kind of switch gears a bit. At QuestBridge, we always say that all of our partner colleges guarantee to meet 100% of demonstrated financial need. And I know that in high school, that can be a little bit difficult to tell, what that even means. Especially when you're really gearing for that, college match scholarship, and you don't have that guaranteed scholarship anymore. You might be a little nervous about what financial aid would actually look like. And I was wondering if you guys could tell us a little bit about your financial aid packages, as much as you're comfortable doing so.
I know it can be nerve-wracking. For me, that was definitely a factor. I was like, if I don't receive money, I'm not going to go to college, and I'm just going to sit here and cry. But QuestBridge definitely made it possible, especially with the 100% of your financial needs being met. I know it's really it's a little sad when you see like that opportunity for um, you getting matched to a school and like having that guarantee, but that's not your only way of getting great financial aid packages, because I got basically the same thing that was guaranteed through the match. So it's not like the end of the world if you don't get matched. You're probably going to get the same or somewhere around the same scholarship, because we're Quest scholars, so we don't have like super high EFCs.
Yeah, especially for need-based or need-blind schools, you're there's like a 98% chance you're gonna get the same thing if you had gotten matched, if it's need-based and stuff like that, which most QuestBridge students are. For me at Amherst, I'm on full financial aid. Like my parents literally pay for nothing. If anything, I ended up with a surplus at the end, and that was without even matching to Amherst. So I know that's not going to be a situation for everyone. Everyone has different financial circumstances, but there is a way for you to go to college without ending up with $60,000 in your pocket every year or more for interest, especially at these private schools. So I'm really grateful for that as well.
So like the way scholarships work, it's just the breakdown of it. They budget it out. They have like tuition, room and board, meal plan, books, things like that, right? And so to answer the question, yeah, it does cover books and room, and sometimes like that can mean different things. Like for me, like I had to get a work study job. That's what basically covers my books is my work study job, and that's different from school to school, like how that works out. But so yeah, so like before you like actually get your financial aid package letter, you won't know exactly how much you're gonna get. But I mean, most of the schools through QuestBridge are like need based or need blind, like Vassar's. That's what the Vassar's like that, and all of the Ivies are need blind. Like that's what they do. And so it's all kind of a package type thing. So like I said, it's all budgeted out. So it's all pretty. It, it it seems a lot more complicated than it actually is. It's actually really simple. It's not like they'll cover it. You know, if you're a QB kid, that's what they'll do. Because for me, like my like they have my student contribution is like 1,000 a year, and uh, my summer job covers that, so I'm fine with that. My parents don't have to pay anything; it's all good. And so don't stress too much about that, because there's a good chance, like a really good chance, that everything's going to be fine in that area.
It's a
Yeah.
little bit different for.
No, you can finish what you're saying. It's okay. Oh my God. Sorry, my lights are automatically turned off. There we go.
Well,
I was just gonna say that unfortunately my situation was a little bit differently. Um, Emory is a partner school, but I mean, they say that they give 100% need, but they didn't give me everything I needed. Far from it, unfortunately. So like, I needed 100%, but they gave me like 90%. So like I'm still paying like a couple $1,000s a year, and then I still have to get like student loans and everything. And I was offered like a student like work study, but for me it was too many hours that I knew that I needed to. For me at least, I require like a lot of studying hours, so I knew that that would take away time like to do my work. But next semester I'm considering doing it, getting a job on campus. So like knowing that I can juggle it. But yeah, I think but at the same time, a non-partner school was offering me an even better package. But I loved Emory after visiting, after I got accepted. So I think it just depends on each person and, what financial situation you're in.
Yeah,
Like,
definitely.
for sure.
It's definitely different for each individual person, because I also go to Emory, but I did receive most of it. I like Dakota, like a couple hundred, I guess, that I still had to pay. But I also received a scholarship, an external scholarship.
Is that like does the Oxford campus offer like different scholarships from the main campus?
No, an external scholarship that I got like
External. Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
yeah. But definitely apply to other scholarships. Don't limit yourself to Questbridge, even though they're gonna cover most of it. Just you want to make sure. Um,
Yeah, keep your bases covered. Like pursue your options for sure.
yeah. Um, but overall, they're pretty great about offering you pretty nice financial aid packages. Just being a Quest scholar and applying, and having that. What am I trying to say? That.
Yeah. And I think, financial aid obviously varies per family, per situation, and per college. So one important thing to note about, covering 100% of demonstrated financial need is that it's up to the college to calculate that financial need, and each college has a slightly different way of doing that. So, if you're concerned about what your financial aid package might look like at a certain school, all schools are actually like federally obligated to have net price calculators. So you just Google the name of the school, Vassar net price calculator, Emory net price calculator. You can plug in your family's financial situation and essentially see what a potential financial aid package would look like. So that's a really great resource if any of you out there are like kind of concerned about that aspect of regular decision without the guaranteed aid.
For sure.
It was pretty accurate.
Yeah, it is very accurate, and they ask a lot of information too to come up with the estimation. Mm-hmm. It's really pretty much everything you need to provide for financial aid.
It's like a mini CSS, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a long form, but it does provide a little bit of peace of mind. Okay. And then, can you guys tell me a little bit about, you apply for the college match and you're not matched, then you're applying for regular decision again. Was there anything you did during that time to almost, to improve your application? Did you take any tests again? Did you do anything like that to send to the schools?
I did. Do you mean like during that, during the process? Do you mean like interviews, things like that?
Interviews are great, yeah.
Oh, well, I did I had a lot. I mean, like I said, I did I applied to 21 schools and I did 12 alumni interviews. So that can be very busy, just preoccupied my mind a lot because I did a lot of research on the schools. But I like I said, I ended up recycling essays, so I guess you could say I ended up editing a lot of my essays, but at the same time I did stay true to myself, and I believed that what I had handed in to Questbridge, I believed that it, did reflect everything I wanted to reflect in my profile. So I didn't really change things just based on the fact that I didn't get matched to a school. I didn't want to deviate from anything that I believed was me, so to speak.
Yeah, I just for some of the essays, I know when we were applying to match for the first time, it's kind of a bit rushed because you have that deadline so early, and if it's sometimes hard to get your stuff in properly. So for my essays, I know that some of them were at 90%, and I think I had them reviewed by one or two more people in the time that I had. And I edited little things like grammar or stuff like that. But yeah, I agree with Madeline said. I don't think that there's much you can do to make yourself better because you're already at this level of awesome right now, and it's pretty hard to edit that. So if you're a finalist, you're amazing. I promise that. But if you do feel it'll make you feel more comfortable to edit something, or if you really want to take that test score, because I know some people that's a really big issue in their mind. If you feel like you can and the school accepts it, make sure they accept it first before you do it, and then it's for nothing.
Yeah.
Then go for it.
I think I sent, because before I didn't. So my ACT score was pretty solid. I was pretty cool with that. I was down with that. But my SAT score was just it was okay. I think I got a little above average on the SAT. But I decided to go ahead and send it in because I was like, I can send this to 2 schools for free, like now, because my counselor told me that. I think it was probably more than that, but my counselors and I didn't have a good relationship. Anyway, so I did that. I just like, you know what, it can't hurt, and I sent in my SAT scores to a couple schools. I don't know if it had an effect on anything, but I was like, okay, I did it. At least now I know that. Now I won't wonder like, what if I hadn't, you know?
Right. Right. If you need that for like your peace of mind and that'll make you feel more comfortable, then go for it.
Yeah.
I don't think you should change anything, but I mean unless it's something big, like I don't know what would be big, but you really don't need to worry about it. I don't think I changed anything at all.
Wow, great. Yeah, and I would also say, if there's something you're really concerned about or something that's really changed in your, application, maybe your situation has changed and you need to describe that new situation or something really big, you can always contact the schools you're applying to and just update them with that information. And they'll each have their own different way of, whether they're able to accept updates or how they track it. But just let them know if there's anything that you do want to update them on.
Don't be afraid. I was afraid of them. Don't be afraid of them. They are so friendly.
Oh my God, yes. Don't be afraid to email or call or reach out. A lot of the
Yeah.
people in the admissions office or financial aid office, they're so helpful.
Their job is literally to help you with
Literally,
anything
yeah.
you need. Like, don't take advantage of that. Use your resources because it's important.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Great. Okay, we have one question here. I'm a little curious about you guys, and that is, did any of you get accepted to schools that you were not in the middle 50% of test scores or grades? So I know a lot of kids are really concerned about this, really concerned about their test scores. I'm just curious, do you guys fall into that category, or do you know anyone else who does?
Yeah. So me, I was like fine with that usually. Like I was just like I I was in the top like percentile. But my friend who shall go nameless, he he his GPA was garbage. Not good, not good. Not that he's like not a smart kid. He's like smarter than me. It's just like his GPA was trash. But his test scores were pretty solid. Like his test scores were pretty like they were high marks, and so he got accepted into he got accepted into I want to say MIT. He got accepted to one of those. I hadn't talked to him a little bit, and he just got accepted on academic probation, which is like you have to keep a certain grade point average, and then you're fine. So there's that. So like if your grades aren't good but your test scores are fine, don't worry about that. If your test scores aren't good and your grades are, that's usually a pretty good indication that you're a pretty solid student too. You know. Yeah. So that's my input on the situation.
Yeah.
I think my SAT scores fell just below the average 50% for Amherst. Um, so I mean, I never really dwelled on that because I knew that it really is a holistic process. Like, so they look at your test scores. Like, I'm not gonna lie, they're not gonna ignore it, but they look at your test scores, your GPA, your essays, your extracurriculars, anything, literally everything that was on the application. That's what they're what I know that the admissions officers are looking into. So um, I I don't think that you should solely focus on fall if you fall like a bit below, or if you think it's you should have reach schools, and you should be able to like evoke your passion into your supplements and your essays, so they'll know, and they'll know how what a student you are and what a person you are, and you're a person, you're not just numbers. So yeah.
Mm-mm. I think I actually don't remember where. I think I also fell a little below. I don't exactly remember, but like she said, it is a holistic process, so they're not just looking at your grades or anything. And also, like if you had some big life event that happened that would affect your grades, I think QuestBridge actually tells you to reflect on it.
Right, the circumstances, like stuff, yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, they're understanding. They're not going to be like, oh, you're really dumb. Sorry. They're going to take it into account. And my friend who goes to Dartmouth, he was not at the mark, but he did get accepted, and he had some difficulties with the siphon stuff, but that's just to tell you, like, don't focus on your scores.
Yeah, I think this is really encouraging for students to hear this, because I think you can look at that middle 50% and like really psych yourself out. But again, remember that's the middle 50%. There's a full 25% below that. That's like a quarter of the classes below that. Like that's okay. That's a huge amount. So it's really great to hear. And another, a benefit of using the QuestBridge regular decision process is that, the extra space on our application where you can explain any dips in your grades or anything like that. And that's taken into consideration, which is really great.
Yeah, I wanted to say this SAT scores played a huge role in my college application process. For me, my guidance counselor was using my SAT scores kind of as the gauge as to which schools I should apply to. And if I would have listened to her, I wouldn't have gotten accepted to 6 of the schools. I wouldn't have even considered applying to Emory, let alone the schools that were partner schools of QuestBridge. So I was in the bottom 25% of Emory, and I got in. I was in the bottom 25% of 6 other schools that I got accepted to. So I really think it's important to not let the SAT range stop you from going for it and believing in yourself. If you believe that you're qualified, if you believe that your test scores or your GPA don't necessarily reflect your qualifications for that school, don't let it stop you. I think that it's really important to know and believe that you're more than just a test score, and that you have so many other parts of the app. There's so many other parts of the application that show different parts of you. For me, I know that my extracurriculars were what shined. So I knew that it doesn't necessarily compensate, but I know that every student is different, and they don't just accept people simply based on a score. So I think it's really important not to, I know, especially at this time, everyone's all on top of like College Confidential and looking at everyone's stats. So don't let the stats like discourage you from applying to a certain school. If you really want to go to a certain school and you're in the bottom, go for it. You apply to schools once, believe in yourself, and know that you have a chance just like anyone else.
And also, it seems a running thing here is if your guidance counselors are telling you that you shouldn't do something, they're wrong. If you want to do something, like as far as applying to colleges, and your guidance counselors are all like, "What's that college? Just do it. Apply to the college." Your guidance counselors are guidance counselors. They're supposed to guide you. If they're not doing that, then they're not doing their job.
Dakota, I get the feeling you had a very interesting experience with your guidance counselor.
Man, yeah.
Okay, so I have one final question for you guys, and also thank you for your answers to that last question. I feel like I almost had tears in my eyes. You guys, like you have to believe in yourself, and you're more than your grades and your test scores. It's so true. But my final question is, once you decide where you're applying regular decision, once you submit all those materials, you still have this like couple months where you're waiting, and it's towards the end of your senior year, right? And you don't really know what you're doing the next year. Do you have any advice for students who are already scared about that huge gap in time and how to get through that?
You just have to live.
Yeah.
Just let the time go. Stop stressing. Stress isn't going to make the time go away.
Literally sleep if you can. Please, don't lose sleep over this. Things are going to work out the way they're supposed to. And if you might end up somewhere that you weren't even thinking about ending up, or things are just end up the way they do.
True. Be creative. That's the thing. That's one thing I learned. And maybe it's just me, or maybe it's not for everyone. It's definitely not for everyone. But if you can find some way to be creative and have an outlet for the stress and stuff like that, do it. Be active. Do things. That's the best advice I can give. Because if you just sit around worrying about it, you're just gonna. That's bad for your mental health and your physical health. Stress is not good for the body. So go do things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I made the mistake of just moping around, just waiting for the time to go by, thinking I just want to find out what college I'm going to go to, get it over with, just so I know what is going to be like. And looking back, I'm just so upset because here I am in college getting no sleep, studying for finals, not being able to do anything outside of school. And I'm just like, why didn't I appreciate the sleep? Why didn't I appreciate having the
Mhm.
option to do anything? So really just remind yourself that you will be in college before you know it. The time will go by, and just appreciate being at home with your friends and family, and just
Mhm.
know that things are going to be okay. And you're going to get to college, and you're going to get to college. It'll be hard.
Man. Okay, great advice. Well, we're going to wrap up this hangout now. Thanks to our four wonderful panelists for joining us and telling us what it was like to apply through regular decision, to be successful through regular decision. And to everyone who's watching today, I know we had a few questions that were much more process-oriented, maybe more for QuestBridge instead of our panelists. If you still have those questions, you can always send us an email to questions@questbridge.org, and we'll be sure to get back to you there. Again, thanks everyone for joining us, and we wish you all the best of luck in applying for regular decision.